Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Dan Litman, who is the owner and creative director of wonderhorse. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, John.
Yeah, would you like to just kind of start us off with a little bit of a background as to who you are, what you do, and then the type of business that you're in?
Yeah, I'm Dan Litman. Like John said, I'm the owner and creative director at wonderhorse. I started in the industry roughly about 14 years ago. Worked my way into an advertising firm in Duluth, Minnesota called Out There Advertising as a freelance designer. Ultimately, over the past 14 years, I worked my way into a full-time design role here and associate creative director, which ultimately led to becoming a creative director and very fortunately, the owner and creative director now considered Wonder Horse.
That's great. So, was there a spark that led you to business ownership here, or was there something that kind of occurred that kind of all of a sudden said, "Hey, I'm rather than just being a creative director, I want to own this agency that I work for"?
Yeah, so I grew up in a family-owned construction business that my dad owned. And it always had a spark in me that having that little bit more um, as an owner there's a sense of belonging and a sense of belonging to your team. So for me, it was a bit of a somewhat difficult transition because a lot of my coworkers all of a sudden, become employees. But it's the sheer fact that the employees here and my coworkers really believed in me, and so forth. Then the clients also believed in me too. Had a lot of meeting.
So, and let's talk about that transition where you went from kind of an employee to being the owner. What were some of the things that you needed to do to prepare yourself for that?
Definitely have the switch of a business mindset. I wouldn't consider myself a numbers person by any means. I'm a creative person, so my brain doesn't quite work linear like most people. So really had to ground myself and understand the business aspects of this role. But at the same time, it really for me came down to the people. I'd love to be, centered around really great people, talented people, internally and externally, of course, when it comes to our clients as well.
Okay, that's great. Talk about that business mindset, right? Did you have to do any training for that, or was there a mentor that you went to, or how did you kind of start to work that into your skill set?
Yeah, I would say the old owners of the agency really, really helped transform me throughout the years. And again, this was a decision I made roughly about 3 years prior to ownership. So in a sense, they were able to kind of put me under their wing and guide me, to give me a lot of that background information when it comes to things such as accounts receivable, accounts payable, working as a team, being collaborative. Um, and I think naturally, luckily, I've been given that people skill. So that really comes in handy as a business owner. To us, it's really all about relationships, and if you can't talk to people and relate to people, then what do you have?
Yeah, yeah, I could imagine. I talked to this a little bit about, how did your work-life balance change, or did it change as the owner of a business versus being an employee?
Uh, my work-life balance change. I would say I was always one of those employees that was here late and always making sure things got done in a timely manner and to our deadlines because those are super important to us and of course our clients. So for me, it was just kind of already built in, a work-life balance. It's always a tough thing. It's hard to shut your mind off when you leave the door. Having two kids in the last few years has definitely helped me reset myself once the door closes and my house door opens. But again, we're tied to our cell phones, we're tied to our laptops, and it's easily accessible to reach in your pocket and check your email at any given time. But for me to help really stay grounded day to day, first thing I do in the morning is I open up my phone, I look at my calendar for the day, get a scope of what my day looks like, so I can just mentally prepare for it as I leave the house.
Oh, that's great. That's a good thing to share with the audience, I think. So cool. So your industry, you're in basically marketing, advertising. What are some of the things that you guys do to remain innovative in your industry?
So for us personally, it's really all about listening to the employees. For me, a really good backstory is when I started in this company, we used to use the Nilla folders to to traffic our jobs from account executive to the creatives to then ultimately the creative director and back to the client for a presentation. And one day in one of our staff meetings, an employee said, "Why are we using these folders? We have, there's digital software out there. What are we doing?" And we're all like, "That's a great point. Why not? It's hard. Change is hard, right? Change has always been hard for people, but to accept change, and again, to keep on being innovative is to be able to accept change." And so at that moment, I tasked that employee with coming up with three different um, basically management platforms for us to look through and make the right choice that was best fitting to us in the company.
Oh, that's a good example. So I appreciate taking the time to share that. Let's see. I'm going to ask the magic wand question. So this is where, if you could wave a magic wand and change, one thing about your business, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, there is a part of me right now that feels like we were able to wave that magic wand. For us, it was rebranding ourselves, basically restarting the company. So what was once out there advertising in Duluth is now Wonderhorse. And for us, we wanted to create more so a community over a company. And what I mean by that is when I took over, there was a huge culture shift within the company. And that was really giving a lot of free reign and creative reign to our employees, and to equip them with the right tools, not necessarily, micromanage or stand behind their shoulders, but allow them that freedom to do the best work that they're possible creating.
What what was that decision like when you kind of made the decision to rebrand? Did that come along as you took over ownership, or did that happen a little bit later?
It was one of those decisions where you understand there's a lot of equity in a name of a
Hmm.
company that's been around for over 20 years. But at the same time, you have to kind of stand back from that point of view and look at how many people, how much awareness is this current brand bringing? For us, it was a lot of mistaking our name, even. At the same point, I feel like there was a big turn when it came to our employees and the creative work that they were creating to the point that the work was outshining the brand. So we needed a brand that was then also showing the innovative work that we're bringing to our clients.
And comment about the origins of Wonder Horse.
So it's pretty cool. One of my first clients when I started here nicknamed me the Wonder Horse because of my creativity and because I was real hardworking and get things to them very quickly. Ultimately, that came about when we were thinking of a new name, not only just because it's a very intriguing and unique name and very simple, but also when you separate wonder and horse, wonder meaning imagination and horse meaning steadfast and hardworking. So as a collective here, that's how we all represent ourselves.
No, that's great. That's a neat story. Uh, and I always like to ask that because, everybody's story is a little bit different. So let's talk a little bit about the future. Could you maybe just offer us a glimpse into your future plans and goals that you have for your business?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, rebranding Wonder Horse this summer. One of our biggest goals here in the coming year is, of course, brand awareness. And achieving that not only just in the Duluth market, but also surrounding communities as well. But we also have to stay true to what we're known for and our really great work, and our relationships with our clients. So one of the biggest things that's always held true for us is that most of our clients here last about 4 times longer than the average in the industry. So when it comes down to it, it's all about upholding those relationships with the people we get to work with.
That's good. Great. So, recognizing that this show, right, is targeted towards people that are going to be in their first few years of business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, one of the best words of advice is trust your gut.
Hmm.
I will always say that. I think I've the mistakes I've made in the past, it's not trusting my gut when I should have. But also number one too is surround yourself with amazing people. If you surround yourself with creative, talented people, people that are more talented than yourself, it's going to go a long ways for you.
That's really good. Well, listen, Dan, I appreciate your time today. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And it was great meeting you, learning the story behind Wonder Horse. And I didn't realize you guys had just gone through the rebranding here within the past year, it sounds like. So congratulations
Yeah,
on that. That's a big step.
thanks. Yeah,
And
it's an
then,
exciting time for us.
yeah, and then to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.